What's up, everybody? This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob, doing a PX single malt Scotch rundown. So I have the Deanston One Giant Leap. This is an independent bottle bottled exclusively for the whiskybarrel.com. It's 10 years old, exclusively aged in first fill PX for 10 years. Over here, I have the Kilchoman PX. This is an Ontario exclusive. Most of them are single batch whiskeys anyway. This is 5 years old, or just over 5 years old anyway. Cask strength, so 47% on this one. This one was 61.6%, the one leap from Deanston. Over here I have a little bit of a lighter ABV at 46%. It's the Benriach 18 Alberiza. Okay, so all three of these are PX finished or aged in some way, shape, or form. Two of them are peated, so I'm going to start over here on my right with the Deanston. Okay, so this one has improved already with some time open, and it's still pretty high up on the bottle. Getting a lot of dark type notes on this one. Dark dates, plums, almost like a balsamic vinegar type note. Something vegetal as well, maybe like fresh tobacco leaves. It definitely doesn't smell 61.1% or 61.6%, sorry. Okay, a little bit of like a vague espresso note on the back end. Maybe some dark chocolate. Not overly active on the nose. On the palate, yeah, so on the palate it's improved drastically from when we first opened this. It's a lot sweeter. 61.6%. Does not drink that way, which is kind of crazy. That tobacco note is on the palate as well, mainly on the finish. A little bit of a espresso note as well. It's sweeter than a dark chocolate, but there's some nice oaky notes at the back end that reminds me of dark chocolate a little bit. Really nice. This one was bottled to commemorate the moon landing. At first I wasn't convinced, but I'm starting to be swayed. So this is the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11 landing, and I think they did a good job with this. I'm going to do one more sip. I'm going to give it a mark. A little bit of an oaky, moving in toward black licorice type note. Yeah, small sips, and you actually don't really need to add water to this one, but I would if you want to really open it up, figure out what's going on with this one. I was worried because I had a Deanston sherry cask whiskey before that gave me a ton of ammonia notes. And when we first opened this one, it wasn't there, but it smelled like the beginnings of what could be there for that ammonia note that I really dislike about some sherried whiskeys. It's not here, and I'm really happy to say that because we still have quite a bit of this bottle left. I'm going to about halfway, and then Jeremy's going to take it the rest of the way down. So I'm going to give this one an A. It's about an 87, 88. It's up there. At first I was going to give this like an 82. I wasn't very impressed. It was good, but it wasn't great. It's really starting to taste a little bit like a Cavalon in my opinion. I don't know what happened with this particular cask, but it feels like it really absorbed that PX exclusive influence The color on it is super dark, as you can tell. 10 years in a PX first fill barrel, I guess will do that. And it's really nice. It's, like I said, it's about an 87. So good stuff. Moving on over here to the Kilchoman. So this Kilchoman is bottled at 57%. It is bottled exclusively for the LCBO, but they have PX Kilchomans pretty much everywhere. The LCBO will always dispute that the ABV is. On the bottle it says 57%, but on the back of the box here it looks like the LCBO ran some tests and it's a little bit short of that. It's 56.4%. So usually they won't disclose if it's within a certain amount. I think that's 0.5. They're just over the 0.5 range, so they disclosed it on the back of the bottle, or on the back of the box anyway. So this is a Pedro Ximenez finish, so assuming it was in bourbon barrels ahead of time, that's why I guess it's not super dark. On the nose, got a really nice peat note here. Kind of reminds me of like a baby Octomore, almost. Not necessarily that strong Islay peat, although Kilchoman is an Islay distillery. It's got like I said, like an Octomore barbecue type smell. I've done one other Kilchoman, which was the wine cask. This one noses way better than that wine cask, in my opinion. You get some of those sweet notes, almost chocolatey notes in the background. Barbecue ribs, barbecue sauce, applewood type notes, smoked applewood particularly. Really nice. On the palate, yeah, that's awesome. Sweet, all those smoky flavors come through on the palate as well. If you like Octomore, you would love this Kilchoman in particular. It's expensive. It's like $200 at the LCBO. I know that they go for less in Alberta. I'm not sure what they go for in the UK, but you're looking at over $100 for a 5-year-old whiskey. I think that's pretty expensive. But then again, you got those Octomores, which I think they're trying to compete with. And they're in the same price range, maybe a little bit more expensive depending on where you buy them. So, is this worth the money? I like the distillery characteristics of Kilchoman. I think this whiskey is well made. It's well put together. There's beautiful sweet notes to contrast the smoky notes. Smoky goes really, really well with super sweet. So if you have a super sweet distillate, which Kilchoman obviously does, it pairs well with smokier whiskeys, I think. So this one, it works. And for $200, I mean, $200 is a lot of money. I could buy a lot of great whiskey for that price, but I'm glad I spent the $200 on this. I'm glad I got to try this. Would I buy it again? Maybe not, but would I buy something else from Kilchoman? Probably. So I'm going to give this one an 87 as well. Really, really nice. Last but not least, the surprisingly peated Alberiza Benriach. Now, I know it says peated on the box, but there's other Benriach expressions that I've tried that say peated, and they're nowhere near as peated as this one. This one has a really nice peat note. It has a little bit of like a smoky oak as well, which some people either really like or really don't like. That oak is a make or break for some people, so I like it. It's calmed down a little bit. As you can tell, I've had this bottle for quite some time. Acquired it in a trade. If I was given this glass blind, there's no way I would be able to tell that this was aged in PX, and there's no way that I would be able to tell that it's that dark, based on the nose anyway. And what I mean by tell that it's that dark is, like, when you see a whiskey like that, you would assume that the wine cask influence was heavy on this whiskey, and I don't get that from the nose, but there's a lot of peat. You do get some PX sweetness, but it's not overly like identifiable in my opinion. On the palate, So next to these two cask strength whiskeys, obviously this one's going to go down like butter. It's 46%. From what I've noticed from day one with this whiskey is that it's not overly complex. There's not a whole lot going on. It's peated, yes. It's sweet from the PX, yes. So I don't get that multi-layer breakdown here. I don't get what I would get normally in a bourbon cask that's been transferred over to PX. I get a little bit of the PX influence and not much else. There's a little bit of that sweetness, that chocolatey note, some nuttiness, heavy on the oak. Yeah, honestly, it's good stuff, but right now, for secondary prices, this is going for about $400. I'm happy with the trade. I bet the Cavalon's a bit better. This one's probably an 86 for me. It's not quite up there in the A range. It's low A. Like I said, 86. It's good, but for the price, you can buy much better. It's soft. It's peated. So this is great for like the guy that loves his peated whiskey but wants something that he can have on a nightly basis. That's definitely this stuff. It's sweet. It's soft. It's heavily peated. But not much else is going on. I'm going to leave that at 86. I think that's a fair mark. It's good stuff. These two are a little bolder. They're a little bit more in your face. Whereas this one doesn't have a whole lot other than the peated notes. And it's pretty oaky. But not a whole lot of that PX that shines through. Whereas it shines through a little bit more in these two. Mostly in this one right here, which is entirely aged in PX, which you would come to expect. I find stuff like this, Glendronach releases a lot of them. You need to give them time to open up, because if you don't, you're going to get some off-putting notes at first. It needs to really, really open up, oxidize, and get into the zone where I find it's a little bit more ideal. Alright, so just to recap, the Deanston is probably the best of the three. If you miss out on these, don't feel too bad. You're not really missing out on that much, other than maybe the secondary prices that this would reach. This one is better left closed if you have it, just because the secondary and what you can get with the money for secondary is probably better than opening this bottle. I'm not disappointed that I opened this bottle, but definitely $400 towards another whiskey would be better in my opinion. So like I said, this is probably an 87 leaning toward an 88. This is an 87 leaning toward an 86. This is an 86, probably even leaning toward an 85. So on any given day, these marks can change, and you'll see that on my channel that I do re-review some things that I feel have drastically changed over the years. But I would give the little edge to this Deanston over here, although I thought when I first started recording this video that I was going to have to tear this apart, because it was good when I first tried it, but not nearly as good. And for the price, it was about 175 Canadian dollars. I don't know if it was justifiable. Now I'm happy we did that. I think Jeremy's going to really like the second half of this bottle, because it's probably just going to get better and better. So that's it. You guys can check me out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You guys can also help the channel out on Patreon. Cheers.